you don't mind, what I'll do is I'll just give a little welcome and then some of the rules like, please don't, mute your audios, your microphones. If you have any questions, use the chat, that
Okay.
type of thing. Right. Okay.
All right, I think we're all set up.
Perfect. All right. So if we're all ready. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, want to thank you all for coming in to the Academic Success and Tutoring Center's webinar presentation, Academic Success Strategies. Our co-hosts for today are Philip and Cynthia. So we can wave to them and say hello. Since this is going to be a recorded webinar, what I would suggest to all the participants, we don't need to have your videos on, so you can disable your video. And I would also suggest that you disable your audio. Any questions that you have, you can put through on the chat. Anybody who is joining us later, or if other people want to see it, we are looking to get this recorded and then posted on a general platform. So more than just the people today can have an opportunity to use the strategies that the academic success and tutoring system are going to present to us. You just came out of your midterms. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you may not think of it, but in about 5 weeks, we're going to be starting the finals. So I think now more than ever would be a good time to learn these strategies and successes and also take advantage of the Academic Success and Tutoring Center to help you in preparing for what's coming up in December. So on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Philip and Cynthia and say thank you for conducting the webinar, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Hank. So I'm Phil. I'm one of the learning specialists here at the ASTC. And this is my colleague, Cynthia. She's also a learning specialist here at the ASTC. So we're just going to give you a quick overview as to what we do here. And then we're actually going to introduce you to one of the strategies that we like to recommend to all of our students that come into the ASTC. So just a few things to remember. We exist. So a lot of students sometimes don't even know that the ASTC exists. So we're downstairs in the Union Building. We're in LO8. So we focus on undergraduate academic support. Our services are free. So I know sometimes with tutoring, that's kind of a crazy concept, but yes, our services are 100% free and they're peer-led. So you'll be working with a fellow Stony Brook student specific to your courses, and I'll get into what we offer in terms of course-based tutoring, skill-based tutoring, and our PAL program. And you don't have to be struggling to benefit from our services. Many students come in just as a nice way of refreshing content within their courses or to build greater understandings within their studies. So where to find us? As I mentioned, we're in the lower level of the SB Union in suite L08. So you'll see a nice big sign if you come downstairs, and we'll have our office assistant staff waiting for you as you check in. How you can find about our services is if you go to stonybrook.edu/tutoring, you'll come to this homepage here. Under helpful links, you'll normally have seen what all the different courses that we offer tutoring for. You'll see what we call our drop-in availability, whereas you don't need an appointment, you could just drop into the center and get support for any class that you might need. And you'll also see our PAL program, which is our peer-assisted learning schedule. So our services, as I mentioned, we have a few different offerings. So our course-based tutoring is what you would normally consider to be tutoring session, where you're going to come into a one-on-one appointment and you're going to work with the tutor for a subject-specific content. So let's say for Chem 131, you need some help. You'd come in and work with a tutor, and that's just what you think of as tutoring. We have this as group appointments as well, where you can bring a friend. So if you schedule your appointment through Navigate and you want to bring a buddy, all you have to do is just add them into your appointment availability, and you could have a group session. We have drop-ins where I mentioned you just come in and drop into the center. We have tutors sitting here waiting to help you. We have online, evening, and drop-in services. So even though our center operates from 10 to 5, you can do nighttime appointments where you can book a virtual appointment with the tutor one-on-one. We also have a partnership with the RTC, so they have tutors there as well for certain courses that we offer. Our skill-based tutoring is what myself and Cynthia oversee. These are tutors that can help you with study skills, test-taking skills, time management, procrastination tendencies, and this is all done through evidence-based learning strategies. So we also have our peer-assisted learning program, where this is where a student who has already taken the course previously will go in and shadow a course and work closely with the instructor to then develop an active learning lab situation where you'll come in and you kind of work with peers on how to develop and strengthen your understanding of the course content. And a newer initiative that we have over the past few years is something called study gems. We don't encourage procrastination and studying last minute, but we understand college students are going to do this. So usually right before a big common hour exam, we open up the center. We had one this past evening, it's on Sunday, for about 3 hours, and we come in and just encourage everybody to help each other with tutors study for the common hour exam. So we're going to have another one next week. So that will also be found on our website if you're interested in that particular service. So our student staff, it's all peer-led services. So all of our tutors have already taken the courses that they are then tutoring in. They've received a B plus or higher. They have a cumulative GPA of 3.0, a professor's recommendation or a faculty recommendation, and then they go through an interview process here at the ASTC. So they're wonderful, and we have about 150 tutors at the current time. So our additional academic support, that if you need support beyond what we can offer here, you always have the ability to reach out to your professors and TAs for office hours. We have the various learning centers across campus and the help rooms. The writing center, if you need writing specific help, that's something that we don't actually do here at the ASTC. And we have many additional services that if we can't help you here, we can then figure out how to help you best at the university. So now I'm going to turn it over to Cynthia, and she's going to go over some of the strategies that we encourage down here at the ASTC.
Okay, hi everybody. The first thing that we like to talk to students about is creating goals, and especially if you've finished up your midterms, hopefully by now, you've seen how you've done on an exam or on a paper. So we would like to make sure that our goals that we're setting for the rest of the semester are SMART. So we want to make sure that they are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. So here are just some more examples. So specific means it's what you want to accomplish, and it needs to be with as much detail as possible. So not a great goal would be, oh, I want to do better in my class. A better goal would be, I would like to earn an A on my next assignment, because you're giving something specific. You're talking about a specific project or assignment that's due next, and then you're giving yourself like the time. Measurable means that you're able to measure it. Is it something that you're able to evaluate? So I just want to study my textbook might not be very easy to measure to see if you are actually able to achieve that. But I would like to complete reading chapter 7. That's a better goal. Also, achievable, you want to make sure it's actually something that you're able to achieve. I want to have a better attitude. It's better to just say something more specific, and more action-based. I would like to complete my assignments before class, or I would like to review my notes after class. You also want to make sure that your goals are realistic. I want to read 6 chapters tonight in the next hour. Not a great goal. It's not really realistic. Or I would like to read 2 chapters each night for the next few nights. That's also breaking up a big goal into smaller goals, which is also a really good technique. And we want to make sure our goals are time bound. We can break big goals into small ones, but we would like an end date to our goal. So I would like to graduate the head of my class. A better goal is to break that down a little bit to its smaller parts. I'd like to qualify for Dean's List by the end of each semester. We just want to make sure that all of these goals that were created are clear. Also, as we move through the semester, your goals might change, right? After you see how an instructor formats their class or what kinds of exam questions they're asking, you might need to pivot a little bit and change the goal, but that's okay. So I just like you to take a minute to think about some of your goals for the rest of the semester, and maybe put one goal that you have in the chat and try to make it a SMART goal, making sure that it's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. So I'll just give you a minute to do that. Okay, so I put a goal in the chat. Maybe you're a little bit shy, that's okay. So I put a goal is to make a tutoring appointment for next week for Math 125. So that is a specific goal and it's definitely achievable. I made a goal to make it for a tutoring appointment for next week in the tutoring center. And like Phil told us before, we can do that through Navigate. So when you think about your goals or academic success, what are some roadblocks? You could just put this in the chat also. Roadblocks that come up when it comes to being successful or meeting your goals. So procrastination is a big roadblock to academic success. Anybody else feel that way? You can just put up a thumbs up on your screen. Other things that people find to be roadblocks to academic success is like scheduling enough time to study or maybe not knowing specific study techniques. Another one is the good old cell phone. We hear that a lot from students that the cell phone is a big block to academic success. But we'll talk a little bit about procrastination. So we have a 2-minute video to show you. Anxiety and pressure is also another, definitely also roadblocks that we have to academic success. Hopefully, if we get our assignments done on time and we have a semester plan, it helps to reduce a little bit of that anxiety. But there's a method, I don't know if you've heard of it before, but we talk about it all the time at the tutoring center, is the Pomodoro technique. So this is just a 3-minute video that tells you a little bit about that.
Guys, today we are tackling probably the #1 issue that I get emailed about, tweeted about, YouTube commented about, whatever, and that is procrastination. So here's the deal. For me, procrastination is one of my biggest productivity struggles, but it really only rears its ugly head at one step in the process, and that's at the beginning of a task. Because when I'm looking at a task after I've planned it out and I'm basically like staring at a blank screen with a blinking cursor, there's this initial mental resistance to getting into the task. And once I can get over it, I can get into that flow state and work really, really intensely for a long period of time. The problem is getting over that mental resistance is pretty tough, and more often than not, I'll go do something easier like check my email or look at Facebook, or really anything else. Now, I'd say it's pretty likely that you struggle with this problem as well, so today we are going to go over my #1 technique for getting over this problem, which is called the Pomodoro technique. Now, it would not surprise me if you've heard of this technique before because a lot of people have talked about it, and I'm honestly surprised I haven't done a video about it yet. But in case you haven't, we're going to talk exactly about how you can use this technique. We're also going to talk about how you can improve it, and I'm going to link you to some apps and other tools that you can use to augment it as well. So to start this out, here is exactly how to put the Pomodoro technique into action. Step #1, you pick one particular task that you need to work on. Not a list of tasks, not multiple tasks, just one. Once you've decided on it, set a timer for 25 minutes. Once that timer starts, work as intensely as you can on that one task for the entire 25-minute duration. And crucially, if something happens to distract you during that time, whether it's a call or a text from a friend, or whether you get really curious about how much a great white shark weighs, write that distraction down on a piece of paper and save it for later. Lastly, once that timer goes off, you take a 5-minute mini break, and then you repeat that process 3 more times. After you've done 4 Pomodoro sessions, then you take a longer break, and then if you want, you can start the process all over again. This technique is admittedly very simple, but it's also incredibly powerful, and I find it more powerful than almost anything else for getting me over my procrastination tendencies. And the reasons it works are threefold in my mind. Number one, it externalizes the discipline aspect of how long you're supposed to work by using a timer. As the author Robert Cialdini points out in his book, Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion, humans have a strong drive to act consistently with their decisions. And that drive becomes even more powerful if there is a public or concrete commitment to those decisions, like writing them down or using a timer. So if you take nothing else away from this video, make sure that you actually do use a timer when you're using this technique. It'll allow you to take advantage of those commitment benefits, and from personal experience, I know that when I get lazy and tell myself I'll just mentally keep track of the time, I always end up more distracted and less productive than when I do use a timer. Another benefit of the Pomodoro technique is it reframes your task in terms of input rather than output. And this might seem like a subtle difference, but it really helps you get over that mental resistance to starting, which, as we said, was the main cause of procrastination. And it does this because it narrows the scope of your task and it sets a hard, fixed end time. So when you have an output-based task like write a paper or write a script on the Pomodoro technique, there's some end in mind, but you know that you have to get there yourself and you're not exactly sure when that's going to happen. But by reframing your task in terms of input, simply write for 25 minutes, you know that no matter what you do, you can stop working after 25 minutes, and that makes it much easier to get started. And the last main benefit here is having that piece of paper next to you to write down your distractions. And this is really, really important, not only because it lets you write down your distractions and get them out of your mind into a place that you trust, but it also helps to sever that connection between the craving for a distraction and the action you take to go get that distraction. And every time you do that, every time you deny your brain's craving for a distraction, you are building that focus muscle and better enabling yourself to resist distractions in the future, making you naturally more productive.
Okay,
Guys,
so there we go. So the Pomodoro technique is a technique that's used very often, and students that we share this with usually will come back and say that it really worked for them. So the technique, the reason it's called the Pomodoro technique is that the person that created it used a timer. I actually have one in my office, but a timer that looked like a tomato, and the Italian word for tomato is pomodoro. So the important takeaways for the Pomodoro technique is to choose a task, whatever it is. Say you want to read your textbook you want to read chapter 3 of your textbook. So you need to choose a specific task. And then set the Pomodoro timer for set the timer for 25 minutes. So it's really important to use a timer, whether you have a physical timer or you use one on your phone or you use one on your computer, because you want to make sure that you're able to stop at the end of the time. I like to tell students there's no Pomodoro police. So if you don't feel that you can focus for 25 minutes, that's okay. Nobody's ever going to check you, and you can set the timer for maybe 15 minutes if you feel like that's how long you can concentrate for. That's fine. And then the next step is just to get to work, to actually do whatever it is that you set out to do, if it's reading the chapter or studying for an exam. I do like the strategy of putting a piece of paper next to you and writing down something that distracts you during the time. Like, say you need to remember to call your best friend, or something, you have to get your laundry out of the dryer. I would just put that on a piece of paper. So you sort of like take that out of your head and put it on paper so you know you're not going to forget it. And when the timer stops, you should stop. When the timer goes off and the 25 minutes or however long you chose to work for is done, you need to take a break. And I would try to think of like a little reward for yourself. Maybe you want to scroll on TikTok for 5 minutes. Maybe you want to walk around the hall for a couple minutes. That's fine too. So, and then if you need to, you can set a timer for an additional session. The whole idea of this is to encourage concentration for a specific amount of time. increase your awareness and improve work habits. Sometimes when we have a big task in front of us, we're like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do it? How am I going to get started? But if we say, give ourselves a specific amount of time that we're going to work for, it's like, you know what? I could work for 25 minutes, or I could try to read that chapter for 15. You don't have to just use this for schoolwork or work in general. You could use this when there's another task you don't want to do. You want to clean the bathroom, right? You could set the timer for 15 minutes and be like, okay, I'm going to start cleaning and I'm just going to spend 15 minutes. And then at the end of the 15 minutes, I'll take a little break for myself. So there are some apps that you could use. Of course, you could just use the timer or, timer that is built into your cell phone that most people have. But there are some apps. Focus Keeper is a good app. Focus Tomato is another one I have listed here. I just like the artwork for this one. My favorite, if you're going to use an app, is the Tide app. It's a free app that you could get for an Android or an iPhone. And there is a setting that can silence notifications while you're doing the Pomodoro. It gives you the option to change the amount of time. So the default is going to be 25 minutes, but you can definitely update that if you feel like you could work a different amount of time. But there is an option where it will silence the notifications from on your phone, so it won't be like dinging that your friends are sending you an Instagram message or a Snapchat. So it's really helpful to use an app for this. I'm sure there are more. If you look in the App Store or the Google Play Store and you type in Pomodoro timer, lots and lots will come up. There are also some programs for computers also that you could put up and put a timer up on your computer screen.
All right, so
yep.
as far as the next steps, if you feel that you would like to book a tutoring appointment, as Cynthia mentioned, it's all done through Navigate. So as you log into your Navigate, you'll usually see like it's a light purple icon, usually offset to the right, that will say appointments. As you hit appointments, you just go down to the bottom. There's a blue tab that you'll have to hit. Instead of choosing advising, you'll choose tutoring. And then you have the option on the second drop down that will say either course-based or skill-based. So course-based is what I mentioned in terms of you're looking for specific help towards a course, whereas skill-based is talking about something like what we just went over. How to set a SMART goal, or how to focus better, or how to stop procrastinating, what's a more effective test-taking strategy. That would fall under our skill-based services. So you can go explore our website to learn more about what those services entail. Try it out. If you have any questions, contact us. Our contact information is here. So tutoring center at stonybrook.edu. Phone number is 631-632-4920. And as I mentioned, we're located in the Stony Brook Union, right in the basement. So you can also give us a follow on Instagram. So we have a new Instagram. We're working really hard in terms of making the content fun and engaging for all the students, just to let you know and stay informed as to what we're doing each day. You could also scan the QR code right now if you're interested in finding out more. And if you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer anything for you. So you can put them in the chat. But that's all that we have for everybody.
Okay, and before everybody leaves, just wanted to say thank you to Philip and Cynthia. And just put a little plug in. Just like people tell you, don't wait till the last minute to do things. You may find out that even though your finals are 5 weeks away, prep and doing some work on other things right now might be the best way for you to actually be prepared for your finals and to reduce the procrastination, the anxiety, and the pressure you have. So it's not for like when you're starting to feel it. I know they do a great job with helping students all throughout the semester and the year. So it's a great place to go, get assistance, even if you feel you don't need a lot of it, to kind of get into that habit of getting that help. So I just wanted to put that plug in for the center and for the two of you. And thank you again for holding the webinar. So thank you all also for being a part of it. And soon as we can post the recording, we'll send a notice out to everyone. So thank you, and everybody have a very happy Halloween.
You too.
Have a
Thanks for
great
having
night.
us.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.